Hi guys, Super Secret Tech here, and I've made quite a bit of changes to my blue-black Trinket Mage deck now, and it used to be Dimir Agony, and now I'm calling it blue-black Trinket, um, because he's been such a vital importance to the deck. Um, with the changes, I think he's, pretty much the all-star now of the deck. So let's dive right in. Um, I'm now running 2 Deep Analysis and 2 Probe main deck. Those give you a lot of reach against the more controlling matchups. Any of the post decks, Delver, all those, this really helps your game one. It's also really good against mono black control um, because they pry on stripping away your hand, and both those cards really help with your hand in stripping away your opponent's hand. Still running the soul manipulation just because it's really good value. Um, you get to counter their spell and bring something back from the graveyard that they probably killed earlier. So that's still really good interaction. The counter spells and prohibits I still see as a necessity to have a little bit of counter magic. They're just very versatile and can help in just about every matchup. The new creature package is 3 Stitch Drakes, 4 Trinket Mages. I took out the Ravenous Rats for Trinket Mage. 3 Ninja the Deep Hours. I went ahead and added another one because I really liked his interactions. And 3 Crypt Rats. The Crypt Rats were brought in just because they give a really good advantage versus the aggro decks game 1, and if they're not playing aggro and the Crypt Rats are completely worthless, I can just board them out game 2 and bring in something else. The Tidehall of Strix, the reason it's a one-of main deck is just because the interaction with Verdant Longbow, which I'll get to here in just a minute. Then for my removal suite, I'm running 3 Agony Warp, 1 Innocent Blood, and 2 Victim of Night. And then my trinket package is going to be 2 Executioner's Capsule, a Verdant Longbow, Sylvic Lifestaff, and an Aether Spellbomb. The Verdant Longbow with Tidehall or Strix, basically you just tap it and it kills any creature, period. And so it's really good versus just about every deck on the field. And, especially like the Rebels deck has seen like quite a bit of play lately, and Verdant Longbow's really, really good against the Rebel deck. You get, you can Trinket Mage and get Verdant Longbow on turn 3. Turn 4, you can play it and equip it and just start pinging their guys to death. And it takes their, you just have to hit their search Rebel, and you can quickly take them out of the game where they just can't keep up anymore. Because without the ability to search, the deck's pretty weak. The Sylvic Lifestaff really helps against aggressive decks, and also if you need a Crypt Rats, you can put the Lifestaff on your Crypt Rats and pop it, and then even though you're going to get dealt the damage initially, you're also going to gain 3 life, which is helpful. The Aether Spellbomb you can either use as a draw card or to bounce a creature, just a good tempo swing. If you need to get a creature off the board so you can swing for the win, it's really effective there. And then the Executioner's Capsules, I took out the Ghastly Demise because the capsule is just better with Trinket Mage, because you can search for it and tutor for it whenever you need it. Um, I'm still running some basic lands. As far as my non-basics, I'm running 4 Guild Gates, 2 of the Lonely Sandbars, and 2 of the Barren Moors. Those are good late game, and they're fine early game. There's not a whole lot of turn 1 plays this deck makes, and so it's okay to have some come into play tap lands. The Seat of the Synod and the Vault of Whispers are just for the Trinket Mage interaction, and because you have Trinket Mage and Ninja the Deep Hours, a lot of times, like later on in the game, especially if the game's going long, you'll go through all your Trinket targets. And so it's good to have lands as Trinket Mage targets because not only, is he still useful and he's still doing a 2-for-1 card advantage every single time he enters the battlefield, um, but he can also fix your mana, which is really important in this deck because every once in a while this deck has mana issues, and Trinket Mage really, really levels that out. Um, and it's just insane interaction between Trinket Mage and Ninja the Deep Hour. I completely, a buddy and I were talking about it. We decided to test it, and since I've tested it, I've added another Ninja because the interaction between those two is just so good. Um, because even against aggressive decks, if you have like 2 Trinket Mages out and they have 1 blocker, and A lot of times you'll just attack with both, even if you're going to lose a Trinket Mage, just to get the Ninja to trigger, and it brings a Trinket Mage back, so you get to use it again for its ability. And then you can normally kill that blocker. Onto the sideboard, I've cut down on the LD. I'm now running two Rancid Earth and three Choking Sands, just because my post matchup has gotten a lot better with the probes and the deep analysis main deck. The one Gremlin Mine is just a good tutor versus Affinity for Trinket Mage. Still leaving the two negates just because it's good to have more counter magic against some of the matchups. Um, the Shinobis, I went ahead and added a third um, because in control matchups, where that basically any matchup that I don't want to board, leave Crypt Rats in for, I'm going to board all three out and I'm going to bring in the Shinobis just because those help more with the late game. Um, Even though like that seems like a really good play versus Delver, it's not. Like you want to leave the Crypt Rats in versus Delver. Normally versus them, what I end up doing is taking out the Soul Manipulation and putting in the Shinobis. Um, the Rancid Earth and the Choking Sands again, just because my post matchups are so much better now. The Steel Wall is good against any heavy aggressive deck because it's also a Trinket Mage target. So you can Trinket Mage on turn 4 and play your Steel Wall that same turn. So now you have two blockers out of the blue. And an 0-4 is pretty big, so most of the decks in the metagame just kind of run into this and stop. And that's really handy. Also added two more Tide Hollow Strix to the sideboard. Um, you don't really want it main deck against a lot of decks, but if against heavy creatures or really big creatures, this guy's an all-star um, just because of the death touch and the combination with the Viridian Longbow, which I also have another one in the board. Because basically, that combination, especially with it being fetchable with Trinket Mage, is just really strong, and it's too strong to ignore. Like sometimes you have to just be like, okay, I'm going to dedicate myself to some good interactions, and it's really paid off so far. I hope you enjoyed the deck tech. If I make any more major changes to it, I'll post another one up because I like keeping everybody informed of what I'm working with. But I hope you enjoyed it and stay around for more deck techs and draft reviews and matches.